Are we going live now?
Yeah, it's live.
It says it's been interrupted. Hi everybody. Sorry I'm 2 minutes late. Hope everybody's there. Welcome to Tuesday, which means hope everyone got their t-shirt. I got mine, Tasting Tuesday, in the mail. Let's see. Let's give it a minute or two for everyone to get on. But it's Tuesday, which means it's time for sipping, swirling, and drinky drink. I apologize for being a touch late. Let's see who's there. Susan Crandall, good evening. Kelly Goff, it's always lovely to see you. Susan Glenn, Maureen Hamilton. Pour yourselves a glass of wine. We're talking about rosé. I'm super excited. I know I've been talking a long time about this beautiful little wine, and we finally have it in the bottle. We finally get to share it with you. So let me know if you have it. If you don't have a rosé, that's fine. Pour yourself a glass of Keswick wine, and if you don't have a Keswick wine, pour yourself a glass of Virginia wine. Let's give it one or two more minutes, and then we'll go from there. Also, the green screen is not so much of a green screen. It's a bit of a black screen. Technical difficulties, but we are going to roll with it, and we're going to have some fun. So, how are you? Do you have a great weekend? Do you have a great week? Sound everything all right? Give me a thumbs up if you can. And as always, we have my wife sitting next to me. We're going to try and respond to all your questions. So send them in, and if we don't get to them, I will get to them tomorrow. So yeah. So those that ordered the shirt, thank you so much. A very big shout out to Chris Schonberg, my sister-in-law from Custom Ink. She did an incredible job. It's soft, feels great. Hope you're wearing yours, wearing mine proudly, although you can't really see it. And Chris also has a role to play tonight because she is the one that designed the label. And I'm pretty excited about talking this. So let's see. Cindy is there. Marsha Sugameli. I know Marsha has her blue Tasting Tuesday shirt on, so that is awesome. Let's see who else is there. James Belitho. We got ours today. That's incredible. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Yeah. Let's talk about some rosé. Let's talk about wine. Let's answer your questions. Let's have some fun. And then let me tell you what a wonderful deal we have for you today where you can get this wine. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing you would notice, this is our 2019 Le Vendange Rosé screw cap. So very simply, pop it right off. The glass I have is just a very simple. It's actually our tasting room glass. I think it's a perfect generic glass for both red and white, but I think it works beautifully for the rosé. Don't be shy. Right up to the Keswick Vineyards. That should get us through the next 10 minutes or so. A lot of people ask serving temperature. Again, it's very much a personal choice. This has been in the fridge for about sort of 30 minutes, so a slight chill. I would say this is probably in the high 50s, low 60s. But there's no right or wrong answer. It's the manner in which you enjoy drinking it. It could be as warm or as cold as you like. But yeah, let's talk some rosé. What it is, how they're different. I also have another rosé from a dear friend of ours, just to show you why and how rosés are made and how they are different. So let's jump into it if we can. So 2019, everyone knows 2019 was just a wonderful, wonderful year. And I've always looked at Touriga as a varietal that I think would be better suited to rosé production than anything else. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We've done Touriga in the past as a red wine, and it's a little bit polarizing, right? You know, in this part of the world, I think a lot of people like more sort of fruit-forward wines, you know, and when you kind of present a wine that's a bit more earthy and leathery and a little bit funky and garrigue, you know, it's going to be a little bit off-putting to some people. And, you know, Touriga has its challenges. It really thrives in the warm, sort of drier conditions, you know, obviously very famous in the Douro region in Portugal. In Virginia, because of our climate, you know, we are hot and we are humid, but we have a very short growing season. We've never been able to fully ripen it, and we always pick it at sort of 21 and a half brix, which is the measurement of sugar levels. But there's really nice flavor and there's really good acidity. And I've long thought that maybe this varietal would be best suited in rosé production. And in 2019, we went ahead and made what I think and what I hope you kind of agree with is an incredible rosé. So the first thing you notice, if I hold it up, is the color. And again, let me show you the difference between two rosés. So George Raposo is a dear friend of ours. He is also the winemaker and owner, along with Tracy, of Brent Manor Vineyards. And this is their 2019 rosé rather. So you can see ours, as you look at it, I'm not sure, I can't see it, but I'm holding it in my left hand. This is ours, very, very light. Theirs is made in Petit Verdot, or from Petit Verdot, and you can see it's incredibly, incredibly dark. Let's talk about the color, why that is, and the style. So when you make rosé, there's a couple of ways you can do it. The way we did it is we used the grapes and intentionally for rosé production, and that's very different than picking grapes, red grapes, for red wine production and doing something called the Saignée method. So let me talk about that first. The Saignée method is commonly referred to as a bleeding method. And what happens is you go through your block, you analyze the fruit for red wine production. So the sugars, you're looking to pick at 24 and a half. You're looking for developmental flavors. You're looking for sort of riper seeds and riper skins. The intention at that point is to make a red wine, right? You pick it, you process it, it goes into the fermenter, and then what you do after a certain amount of time, you're going to withdraw or take off a certain amount of pigmented juice, right? So whether it's 1 hour, 3 hours, 24 hours, the color variation is going to be dependent on how long that juice is in contact with the skins. Now, the reason is not to make rosé per se. The reason really is to kind of reduce the surface to juice ratio of your fermentation tank. And what that means is the resulting red wine that you make in the tank is going to be darker, more tannic, richer. It's really a process used to increase the quality of the red wine. So if we want to make Touriga, we harvest it, we get, say, 160 gallons per ton. We destem it, sort of put it in the fermentation tank. Say 6 hours later, we draw off 10% of that juice. That juice is pigmented, it's lighter colored, and then that juice gets treated as a rosé. That's Saignée method, so that's the bleed-off method. The way we did it is we picked Touriga specifically with the intention of making rosé. So the first thing we want is lower alcohol levels. I believe this one is 12.5%, 13% give or take, and that is picked on acidity. We're not looking for extreme sugar levels. We're not looking for 14 or 15% alcohol. We're looking for acid. And again, in Virginia, because of the humidity, we don't conserve a lot of natural acidity. Now, when we talk about acid, we're talking about tartaric acid, and we're talking mainly of malic acid, and then to a certain or to a lesser extent, citric acid. So it's the conservation of that acid is really important. So therefore, we pick it a little bit greener. Greener meaning it's not fully physiologically ripe, which is fine. We're not looking for tannin development. We're not looking for brown seeds because we're not making a red wine. So this is all hand-picked. The fruit is chilled overnight, and then what we do is we with this wine we stuck it straight into the press as whole clusters, and then we pressed it and tumbled it very gently for the next 2.5 hours. So the skin contact is minimal. We were really trying to minimize the anthocyanin or the pigmentation in the juice. Then that juice is treated like a white wine. The juice comes out of the press. We press it very gently. We're not trying to press every little drop of juice out of the skins. We've really looked at the sensorial changes when you're pressing, because your chemistry changes. There's bitterness, there's lower sugars. We're tasting, and at some point we say, you know what, the quality is really going down. The juice is losing vibrancy, it's losing character. So that juice gets run off into tank, and then we treat it like a white wine, but it's pigmented. So what is rosé at the core? It's neither white nor red. Obviously, you can see it's not as dark as a red, and it's not like a white wine. I put everything together: blush, rosé. I think of all of them as the same thing. So, yeah. First and foremost, let's give it a swirl. cheers to everybody. I hope you're doing well. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us tonight. So remember, the first thing is this has only been in the bottle for 10 days. We bottled it May 29th, so make that, what was that, 11 or 12 days. So it's young, right? It probably is a little bit tight. It's a little bit sort of shut down, and that's just because of the process of the filtration that we go through and the bottling process we go through. So give it a swirl, give it some air, and let's give it a sniffy sniff. Now remember, the shape of the glass is really, really important, and what we're doing when we swirl the glass around is we're volatilizing the esters. And remember, esters are those odoriferous compounds that form through the reaction of carboxylic acids and alcohols, right? And that's where you get your flavors, right? So again, stick your nose deep into the glass, give it a whiff. The first impression, I get a little bit of red fruit, but that's the first impression. Give it another sniff. And for me, this is kind of like strawberries, raspberries, currants, lots of really juicy red fruits, which is really what we want. There's a beautiful sort of floral kind of undertone. It's very summery. If you're walking through the garden, you've got the flowers and you've got those sort of floral kind of tones that come through. It's difficult to explain, but I get a lot of sort of red cut fruit or freshly cut red fruit. So again, sniffing and aromatically, it's really important, because now it's saying you need to drink me. This is interesting. This is enticing. Let me see if my palate is going to confirm what I'm smelling, because remember, the palate can only really pick up sweet, salt, fat, bitter, and umami, right? So aromatically speaking, this sets you up for what's to come. So cheers, and don't put it in and just swallow it. Give it a rinse. Think of it like mouthwash, and see if the nose and the palate sort of jive. So let's jump into it. Well, I've always loved this wine. I do. It's got really lovely acidity. I know how we finished it. We added a little bit of citric acid. It's got a lot of malic acid in the wine, because this wine is a non-ML wine. And what I mean by that is a lot of reds, or if not all the reds and some Chardonnays, the malic acid is turned into lactic acid through a lactic acid bacterium. And what that does is it changes the wine from sort of that green apple, that very tart, crisp acidity, to a much softer, creamier, coatingly sort of lactic acid, which is a milk acid. And again, with rosés, it's all about the conservation of acidity. You want sort of that bright, vibrant, you want that tension in the wine, because we're not dealing, there's no oak on this wine. It's 100% tank fermented and tank matured. So you don't get the tannins. We don't have skin contact. So we don't have the tannins from skins or barrels. The other thing is, if you notice, it's bone dry. Bone dry. I think the one misnomer about rosés is that people always say that it's sweet. We're not talking about White Zinfandel. I'm not saying that White Zinfandel is not an appropriate or a good wine for it, but I think most rosés are thought to be sweeter, fruit punchy kind of styles. I think rosés are highly complex, highly food friendly. I think it takes a certain amount of skill in the cellar, but it certainly, at the end of the day, comes down to the quality of the fruit. So, yeah, firstly, 2019, a beautiful, beautiful vintage. We were able to pick the fruit when we wanted to. We always talk about a good vintage for me is described when you can do what you intend to do. Right? In 18, we had to get the fruit when we could, when we had a gap. We knew there was rain and more rain, so we had to go get it. This, we were sort of picking and tasting, and we were looking for that acidity level, we were looking for that brightness, and we were looking for the developmental flavors, and I think Touriga works perfectly like that. So just very vibrant and light and airy and summery, a beautiful, beautiful color. Previous vintages have been darker. Last year we used Merlot, Chambourcin, and Touriga, and I think the color, a lot of it came from the Chambourcin. This year Touriga exclusively 100% under the Le Vendange label. And for those of you who might not know the label, the Le Vendange is a tribute label to Al Schonberg, who is our owner. It was his younger sister, Geneviève. Le Vendange means the wind of angels. It says Hommage Geneviève just below there. You know, there's swans in the portrait because her and her husband used to have swans on their necklaces. If you come and visit us, you'll see the swans in the right. It is a tribute label to a phenomenal human being, and I hope this wine does it justice. And the label was designed by Chris Schonberg, who designed our t-shirts as well. So thank you, and a shout out to Chris if you're watching. Yeah. So could you age it? Sure, for a year or two. I don't think there's any chance that this wine is going to fall apart. It's not going to turn vinegary or soury. Should you age it? Perhaps not. I think maybe short term, just to let it get over that sort of initial kind of awkward stage from bottling. I think it's beautiful. I think it's so bright and so light, but it's got weight. You know, and it's sort of, it sounds like I'm juxtaposing what I'm saying there, that how can it be a wine be light and vibrant but still have sort of texture and weight? The way we do that is we use a lot of lees or dead yeast. So this wine is fermented with the addition of commercial yeast. We do a lot of ambient fermentations or fermentations that are conducted without the addition of Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is the yeast strain that we use. This one is a much more sort of controlled fermentation. We're fermenting at much lower temperatures. You know, we're fermenting in the mid to low 50s. You know, we're feeding it very, very sort of gently. We're not trying to kind of create a fermentation that is vigorous and that finishes in a week or so. We're looking for about a month, about sort of 3/4 a brick drop a day. So by adding a yeast and knowing its fermentation kinetics and knowing its nitrogen requirements, we have a little bit more control over it. And what we're trying to do is to conserve and preserve and then obviously amplify the fruit of the wine. And I think hopefully we've done that. So if you have this in your glass, if this is the first time you're drinking the 2019 Le Vendange Viognier, let me know what you think. Because I'm full of nonsense. I'll just tell you what I like. At the end of the day, it's really drink what you like, how you like, and when you like it. But do you love this as much as I do? I've always loved this. It's been one of my favorites. One of the questions, by the way, is this the only rosé that we make? No, it is not. We do have a second rosé that is exclusively barrel fermented and matured. It's also 100% Touriga Nacional. That is a wine that we bottled July 30th and 31st. It's a little bit more textured. It's still a non-ML wine. It's also treated in the same way. The fruit was really picked for rosé production instead of a bleed off. As I've mentioned in previous sort of kind of tastings, we haven't made a Touriga red wine in 2019. We've used it exclusively all for rosé production. So yeah, let's see. Are there any questions? The LVA, Adam Rockhill, the LVA is a much better use of the Touriga. Thank you so much, Adam. I hope you're doing well. I appreciate that comment. The intention with Touriga was to make it popular. Again, you know, when we made the red wine, it was a style of wine that didn't appeal to everybody. You know, if we gave Touriga red wine to 100 people, you'd sit on the fence. You'd had 50 that went, I really like that sort of funky and Greek and it's earthy and that's sort of intriguing. And other people would be put off by it. One of the thoughts was, I think as a winemaker, it's the better use of the grape. But also, I think from a consumerism point of view, it's going to have mass appeal. You know, at the end of the day, we make wines that you like to drink. We make wines that you can open up and enjoy. That is the intention. The intention is not for us to make a wine that someone says this is 95 points, but you don't like. At the end of the day, you know, wine is made to be drunk and made to have fun with. So I appreciate that comment. Thank you so much. Let's see. Terry Hauser said we had a bottle Saturday night with friends while social distancing. Yes, remember there's still a pandemic going on. Be safe, be kind, and appreciate that, but love it. Can't wait to hear about the deal. Well, the deal's coming in the next sort of 15 minutes, so hang tight. Neil Glazer, is that Neil Glazer from Horton Vineyards? Check them out, just across the street. Fantastic people. Neil's been a long time kind of worker of theirs and a great sort of supporter of Virginia wine. Good evening to you, Neil. Hope you're doing well. Kevin Norfleet, how many bottles am I going to drink tonight, or how many bottles did we make? I could easily drink a bottle tonight, and we made 425 cases of the LVA Rosé, and then we're doing 350 cases of the Estate Reserve Rosé. Laura Brown, we've already killed a bottle of this. Love it. Appreciate it. And again, I hope you don't feel the effects of it. We always say we make wines that you can drink. So light, vibrant, acidic. It's not going to really hit you over the head. Food pairings. This is such a clean wine. It's such a vibrant wine. And when you have acidity, you can always sort of play it off against foods that are sweeter, foods that are a little bit spicier. So it's great with Thai foods and, kind of spicy foods. Indian foods are really, really great. Shellfish, oysters on the half shell, simple salads, very clean flavors. Cheeses, Spanish cheeses, Manchego, hard cheeses that are a little bit sort of pungent. I think this wine works beautifully with. Question about screw cap. Great call. Screw cap versus a cork. Is one better than the other? No, not at all, in my opinion. I think it's that sort of psychology of a screw cap bottled wine versus a cork bottle of wine that most people think that is indeed the case. Is it a reductive? Is it a capsule that doesn't allow oxygen in? No, screw caps can allow a certain amount of oxygen in, which could aid development of. But no, we felt that we're beyond that sort of stigmatization of screw capping versus corks. The other thing about corks, remember, is that corks have a compound called TCA, or 2,4,6-trichloroanisole, which could really render the wine undrinkable. Our job in terms of packaging is to present the wine in its best form. Obviously, the packaging on the outside is the visual, attracts your eyes, gets you kind of emotive, makes you want to pick it up. But the way we close it, whether it's a cork, a stopper, a capsule, we want to make sure the wine presents itself in your glass in the best possible fashion and doesn't exhibit any traits that are negative that come from the capsule. And I think screw caps are just a wonderful way in which to kind of finish the wine. Let's talk about another rosé, because just to kind of show you the difference. This is a rosé made by a very dear friend of ours, George Raposa. They are Brent Manor Vineyards down 29 South. Now, is one more a rosé than the other? Absolutely not. His is made from Petit Verdot, also in the sort of the traditional way, meaning that this was whole cluster pressed and fermented like a white wine. The character of his wine is very different to the character of ours. Why is that? I think partly because he's using Petit Verdot and we're using Touriga. So rosé does take on the character of the grape. A lot of people use Merlot because Merlot is a workhorse sort of red grape in Virginia. King Family's Crozet is, if not all, Merlot. But I think for us, with our soil and I wouldn't say our inability to ripen Touriga, under certain conditions, we can ripen Touriga extremely well, but how do we do it consistently? And that's the other thing. How do we make a wine that you as a consumer can buy consistently and know what you're getting? I think we can do an incredibly consistent job and sort of keep that level of quality up. If we were to make Touriga as a red wine, vintage variation is going to play an incredible role. 2018, 17, 19, 11, 13, they're all going to be very, very, very different. So the other thing is we purposely wanted to make this dry. The notion of sugar and sweet always sells. I don't find that to be the case. I know ours is dry. I know George is dry. Just by the way, just a big shout out to George. BrentManorVineyards.com. Check it out. His wine is phenomenal. They're lovely people. Go visit them. They're on 29 South. George, if you're watching, lovely to see you today, and thank you for your wonderful rosé. So we sort of get away from sort of sweetish wines. We think that, again, this wine speaks to, number one, a phenomenal vintage. Number two, acidity, which we picked conservatively. This is really just an amplification of a very, very good growing season. My job is actually quite easy under those conditions, because all we have to do is express in a glass how the grape was grown. So I love it. Tell me if you love it. Is there anybody out there that doesn't love it? Let's see. Adam Rockhill says, it's really good. Was a little bit worried about Touriga, but I'm more than pleasantly surprised. Isn't that the beauty of wine, Adam? That Touriga as a red might not be your thing, but hopefully that sort of plays into our point that Touriga in this application makes an incredible wine, and a wine that I think will appeal to a lot of people. Anna Nicole says, I love this, job well done. Kudos to our vineyard staff and for the folks that work in the fields. They did a phenomenal job growing this fruit, and really as a winemaker, I can take very little credit for this. Let's see else. Marlene, Red Door, loved the color. Yes, the color for me is really, really important. Not in terms of darker is better than lighter and lighter is better than darker kind of thing. It really, I just love this sort of color. It's sort of alluring. It has that sort of coral rose color. It makes it's very typical of Provençal rosés, which I love, and I think they make some of the best rosés in the world as well. Jenna Morrison said, are both black swans still on the property? Honestly, Jenna, only one. Unfortunately, one passed away a little bit ago. So we do have white ones, but not the black one as well. So let's see what else there. It's beautiful and delicious. Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, no one ever said this is a beautiful looking wine and therefore I'm going to buy it, but it tastes like rubbish. No, it has to have the whole package, right? And I think I love the packaging. I love the label, the clear glass, the white against the color, the white capsule. I think from the nose, which makes you want to dive in and drink it. The palate is light and vibrant. I love it. So, at the end of the day, this is a wine that you can drink on the deck. It's a wine that you can drink while you're making dinner. And so it's 7:30. Let me tell you how you can get it, and let me tell you how cheap you can get it for, because that's really what it is. If you're in the wine club, any orders of 3 bottles or more, free shipping to you, right? But you're going to get 30% off. That means if you buy half a case, you're going to pay $100, and we're going to ship it to you anywhere in Virginia or anywhere for free. If you're not in the wine club, you should be in the wine club. You should join the wine club. We make wines this year only for the wine club members. We would, an incredible, hopefully an incredible deal for an incredible wine. So again, to reiterate, if you're in the wine club, 30% discount. Go onto the website, click it in, and free shipping, 3 bottles more. I would buy a case of this wine, because I tell you what, it's going to be gone before you know it, and you're going to wish you had more. So take advantage of the free shipping and the 30%. It is only valid until midnight tonight. And those that are not in the wine club, again, we appreciate you. We want you to join the wine club. But if you feel like you don't want to be right now, thank you for joining us, and we're going to give you 15% off the retail as well. Let's see. I've lost my wife. She's playing mom. So let's go through some of the comments. Donna Goff, the rosé is really lovely as it warms up a bit. There seems to be a hint of pastry crust on the nose. Perhaps you get that strawberry and that fruit. But we do use that lees and that dead yeast. And what I mean by lees, just to kind of explain, so the yeast is the thing that sort of conducts the fermentation. Fermentation is obviously the sugar in the form of glucose and fructose turning into alcohol. Once that yeast dies, it settles to the bottom of the vessel. Now, whether that's barrel or tank, at that point we can rack the wine off. And when we do a racking, we are discarding solids or debris at the bottom of the tank. The wine is cleaner and then it settles. Lee's work for us is incredibly important because as it breaks down, you can build texture and weight, but you can also conserve acidity by blocking the ML. And Lee's work, I find a lot of sort of doughy, bready kind of characters in there. So really, really lovely pickup. I get a little bit more sort of red fruits, to be honest. I think maybe in the background, maybe it's psychological, but at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong answer, but I hope you love it. I hope you love it. So thank you, Donna. Really appreciate it. Jenna Morrison, we're sad about no more red Touriga, but this is stellar. We're not saying we're never going to make Touriga again. Perhaps when we have a bountiful year, perhaps we can make a red wine. If you love the Touriga red wine, let us know. We're pretty set on our sort of core wines. But if there's anything else that you want to see us do or wines that you want us to bring back, let us know. We always love to hear from you. We always want to make sure that you're excited about the wines that are coming up as well. So, Susan Glenn, it's amazing. Love it. Trish Seinwell says we love it. Marsha says, why no background? Because my little rugrat of a daughter had a book club with Mrs. Ola, who is a phenomenal teacher. God bless our teachers, by the way. And she got off at 7 p.m. and I just scooted right in, and we didn't have a time to set it up. We will have one next week. All right. Enjoying this wine. Citrusy to me with a hint of orange. Linda, thank you. Linda Irvin. That's the comment from Linda Irvin. Citrus notes because we finished it with some citric acid on the finish there as well. How many bottles did you produce? Paul Carney asked. We did 424 cases. So what's that? Over 5,000 bottles. So we're not going to run out soon, but I believe it will go really quickly once people kind of taste it. Let's see. George, love Touriga. It's in my DNA. Well, George, you bleed Portugal. You are Portuguese. You should love Touriga, and you do an incredible job with it. And cheers to you. By the way, this Petit Verdot Rosé is phenomenal. So those that want to check out something different, check out Brent Manor Vineyards, Tracy and George. Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. Trish Seinwell asked, how many cases of the barrel aged? Thank you, Trish and Jeff, for everything that you do and for supporting us. It's always lovely to see you. We've got 350 cases of the Estate Reserve Rosé. Now, we are bottling it July 30th, 31st, but it will probably only be released in sort of October, November. I think it's a beautiful rosé. It's a little bit more textured. It's a little bit richer. We have oak on it, but it's not new oak. It's all seasoned barrels. But I think it's going to be more a rosé for the fall, moving into winter. It has that structure. This is just bright and zesty and vibrant, which is a great spring and summertime wine. But 350 cases of the Barrel Select rosé. What would you pair with this lovely rosé? Asked Donna Goff. Donna, to be honest, I think very simple cheeses. Just as a pre sort of dinner thing. I love, first and foremost, I think this wine could be drunk on its own. I drink this while I'm preparing something else. But I think sort of seafood, shellfish, spicy dishes. I would stay away from dishes that have inherent sweetness to it as well, but very clean flavors. But spicy would work really, really well, but very sort of clean flavors, and I think sort of shellfish, seafood, and salads, a lot of greens, a lot of sort of herbaceous kind of flavors would work really, really, really well with this. But play around with it, experiment. There's no perfect pairing. There's only the perfect pairing for you at that point. So let us know if you find something that works. Lynn says homemade angel food cake and a glass on this deck would be a great dessert. I agree, but however you want to drink it, is the way to go. So again, just to reiterate, it's a wine that I think you don't want to talk too much about. It's not overtly complex in how we made it. It's a phenomenal vintage. It's well-grown fruit, and kudos to my vineyard staff. The folks in the field did a wonderful, wonderful job giving me fruit. It's pressed lightly. It's got low skin contact. It's fermented slow. It's sulfured. It's stabilized. It's stuck in a bottle, and that is it. It is as simple as it comes. And when you have a great vintage, a great vineyard site, an incredible crew, and a winemaker that's half decent and doesn't screw it up, hopefully you get an incredible rosé. 2019 Le Vendange rosé. Let me see if there's anything else. And again, let me remind everybody, there's a question about the deal. 3 bottles or more, you get free shipping to you. If you're in the wine club, it's a 30% discount. If you're not, it's a 15% discount. And if you're not in the wine club, think about joining us. The information is on the website. Check us out. I think we have an incredible club. We do a lot for the club, and we appreciate everybody. It's about 8 minutes to the 1:45. Let's see if there's 1 or 2 more questions. Mariette Madden, I'm thinking this rosé would go well with oysters and scallops. I think you're right. I think diver scallops and oysters on the half shell, or even grilled oysters on the grill, I think would go really, really, really well. But here's the thing, rosés are incredible. Don't think of rosés as throwaway byproducts of wines. Even though winemakers bleed off, I think rosés are a market segment that deserve your attention. I think they are rosés that you need to have in your cellar. They're food friendly, they're vibrant, they're wonderful drinking wines. Ageability, again, this has got lower SO2, it's got high acid. It'll last probably 3, 4, 5 years and beyond before it sort of turns. But there's no added advantage to kind of aging this wine in a bottle. It's made to be drunk, it's made to be shared, it's made to be enjoyed. So drink it young, enjoy it young. That's the intention. But thank you, Paul Carney. Beautiful color, great taste, beach wine, perfect beach wine, perfect on the golf course, perfect on the boat, perfect on the lake. It just exudes summer, exudes fun. And it's a beautiful wine. Lanny White and Suzanne, I see you're on there. Marsha Sugamelli and Dennis. Janine, thank you everybody for your support. I don't know if there's any other questions that I've missed. Let me see. Best wine club ever, says Beth Smith. Thank you so much and really appreciate that. I didn't pay her to say that. So let's see. We are fans of French Tavel rosés. Do you drink it at all? I certainly do. I drink a lot of French wines. And that's a question that comes from Craig Hershey. Craig, I would say that to move forward, I always look east. And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of similarities between sort of French viticulture, French climate, French philosophy that we share. And I think the French make incredible versions of wine, whether it be Chard, Bordeaux, Loire, Cab Franc, and I think Provençal rosés are incredible. One of my favorites is Chateau d'Esclans, and I enjoy their rosés, the Whispering Angel and the Garousse. It's a little bit pricey, but well worth it if you want to treat yourself to an incredible wine. But I drink a lot of Virginia wines. I drink a lot of Virginia rosés. There's some incredible Virginia rosés. I drink Californian rosés, South African rosés. One of my favorites. It's from a winery called Eagle's Nest in Constantia, and when I went to South Africa, I bought 12 bottles back. 2 of them were just this beautifully inexpensive, vibrant rosés because we loved them so much. So rosés really belong in the conversation as some of the top end wines out there. I think they're just really, really lovely. What else? Lanny White says, where do you find it on the website? The rosé, I believe, is under the red wines. Let's see. Lynn Pantos says barrel tasting. Yes, an announcement for later on down the line, but we are possibly thinking of doing a virtual barrel tasting whereby you can get some barrel samples sent to you and we can talk about it. Details, we're still talking about it, we're thinking about it, we're hopeful that we can do something like that. I think it would be good. Suzanne Barber says, have you ever thought about Petit Verdot? Yes, the Petit Verdot for me is pretty tannic, and I really think George did a wonderful job with his Petit Verdot rosé, and I'm obviously going to have to chat to him. The other thing is obviously it's noticeably darker. Now we can actually strip color out of wine. We could use deactivated carbon or charcoal. We can pull kind of color out of the wine. For us, Petit Verdot is such a small berry. We haven't really bled it off. We do very little saignée method. We don't do a lot of bleed off. We tend to make rosés on their merits and pick the fruit based on that. I think it's just a slightly different philosophical. I've never really thought of Petit Verdot as a rosé blender. You pick it too early to conserve acidity. The flavors are very green and it can be phenolic. But, we have thought about it. We've used it in the past, and the rosés have been really, really dark. So let's see. What's the best comprehensive wine diagram you've seen? I love a good matrix, says Seth Nelson. I'm not sure. There is the periodic table of grapes that you can get that lines it up, which is really interesting. The aroma wheel is something you look at as a reference point. There's a bunch. Just get on Google. Is there any one that I would say is best? But the grape periodic table is one that I really, really like. Janet says, I really like your rosé, but also would like to see the red Touriga again. We appreciate that. We love that people love that varietal, and never say never. I know we didn't make one this year, but given the right conditions and the vintage, there's no reason why we might not make a Touriga down the line. We had an incredible fun time making a Amarone style kind of Touriga. By the way, let me just take a sip, as they say conversation without wine is just called gossiping. And I think given the year, if we had a drought year and we had ripe Touriga, why not make rosé and a red? So never say never. We're always looking to make the best expression of the grape. So I appreciate your comment. Thank you so much. And you never know. Let's see. Was that 30% in addition to our wine club discount? Lanny, that would mean you would get like an 80% discount, buddy. No, the 30% is the total discount. So it is an additional 5% on the 25%. Whether you're a gold or a silver member. If you're a wine club member, you're getting 30% off. So this is what, $23.95. So that puts it at around 16 odd bucks a bottle. I think it's incredible value, but I hope that answers your question. William Long said, I think you mentioned in a previous time you were considering putting this in a can. William, you're absolutely correct. We had thoughts of putting 300 cases in a bottle and the remainder in a can. Canned wine is a market segment that has exploded. It's a multi-million-dollar kind of market segment. We are thinking about sort of branding and marketing. How would people perceive that? Does it devalue the brand? Are people not worried about it at all? Will it attract new consumers to it as well? The circumstances of COVID and pandemic meant that we put it all in a bottle this year. We're tabling that. I've tried some canned wines. It's interesting. I've had some good ones. I've had wines that I'm not really fond of. I've had a look at the process. It's really interesting. I think it's something that might happen down the future, but probably in the next year or so. But thank you for that and really appreciate it. Estate Reserve with turkey. Absolutely. Turkey with cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce, I think, would really, really bring out the flavor of the rosé. I apologize if I'm looking to the side. I'm just trying to read and sort of get as many comments as possible. So the bouquet on the rosé versus the red Touriga. How is the bouquet or the bouquet toned down on the rosé? Well, I think, the part of the earthiness is the skins and the microflora that come in on the skins and the fermentation and the punching down. The fact is, Linda, this only sits on the skins for 2 hours. So we're dealing with just really fresh juice. Juice is best when it comes out of the press. My wife and daughter come on pressing days and just guzzle that sort of pure grape juice as well. And there's nothing else that really can influence that as well. So I think it's just the skin contact and the tannins and the microflora that kind of works on the skins versus just the juice. But how incredibly different a wine this is. Beautifully floral and fruit forward and vibrant and light and clean. And the other one has that sort of earthiness to that dustiness, that sort of funkiness, which I really, really like. But we also felt that more people would love the rosé. So we appreciate it. I'm excited to see so many people love Touriga red wine. It makes us wonder that we should kind of start it again. Kefany Kring Powell, are you familiar with Wine Folly? Grapes use easy, understandable information. Well, she's responding to kind of Jess there, or Seth. So I'm sorry to jump in, but great resource for you there, Seth. Let's see what else is there. Kevin said he ordered 2 cases. Kevin and Drew, God bless you guys. Thank you so much. Are they here yet? No. You probably should order another 2. Maybe those 2 will get there before the other 2. But hey, appreciate you guys. Hope you're well. Appreciate it. So let's just sort of give each other, a few more seconds to look at some questions. I did want to say, crazy times in the world. And, we always have sort of a food for thought at the end of the day, because I know what we do is really insignificant in terms of world change and people. All I can say is let's be kind to each other. I think, I've got friends who are conservative. I've got friends who are liberal. I've got friends who are black and friends who are white. And they're all good people. And I think the way forward, maybe just a little bit, is to kind of focus on yourself, be the best you can be, and show respect to fellow human beings. And what I say is not going to resonate, but let's be kind. Let's show people some love. We all bleed the same color. We're all sort of God's creation, and let's kind of debate and talk and chat. And that's the great thing about the world and our country, is that we can have differences of opinions and we can still be friends. We can debate and talk and rigorously debate, and I think that's incredible. But at the end of the day, let's just love each other. Let's be the best we can be, and hopefully that'll sort of roll on and play on. So, we're going to finish a little bit about the Tariga, but I just want to say God bless you guys. Your families, your partners, your kids, love each other. Kind of remember what's important in life. Hopefully wine gives you a little bit of pleasure now and then, but let's get through this and back to some normalcy. And it's still an incredible place in the world to live, and God bless all of you. So let's see. Final thing. Love the virtual barrel tasting idea. Hopefully we can make that happen for you, Suzanne. Really, really excited about that possibility. Golly.
Larson asks, does this qualify as an orange wine? What's the difference?
So does this qualify as an orange wine? So an orange wine is generally regarded for a white wine that is fermented on their skins. So this is not an orange wine. So if we were to take Viognier, we destemmed it, and we put it in a fermentation vessel and we fermented it on the skins, that would be regarded as an orange wine or an orange Viognier. And you could do it with Chardonnay or Petit Manseng. So generally orange wines are white varietals that are fermented on their skins, because normally they're fermented without the influence of skins, right? We ferment whites generally as clear juice, but with skin contact and fermentation in the skins, that is essentially what an orange wine is. I hope that answers your question. Let's see, anything else? God, there's been so many sort of comments. So it's 7:50, and we appreciate you. We appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you've had a wonderful week. Let's see. Craig says, speaking of cans, how much of this variety do you have going forward to keep up with the rosé demand? That's a great question, Craig. If Tariga were to be the varietal and the demand existed, we could make probably 800 cases, collectively, which I think for us is a big sort of production size. We are playing around with different ways to make rosé. I think the barrel rosé is different, but it's every bit as good. But further than that, we couldn't exceed that. I would love the opportunity to kind of have to make more rosé, and perhaps there are other varietals that we could work with. I think Merlot is a wonderful, wonderful varietal for rosé. The other Bordeaux that we grow, Cab Franc, Cab Sav, Petit Verdot, a little bit trickier to make this kind of rosé, which I really, really love. And the Chambourcin, which is the other red wine we have in there, is just really dark and pigmented. So I think potentially about 800 or so cases based on our current planting. We only have just shy of 3 acres of Tariga planted on the property. We do have Merlot, which we could use in rosé, but obviously given a good year, we'd rather make Merlot as a red wine. But it's a great question. It would be interesting to see, the thing about trends is what's popular today is not popular tomorrow, but I think rosé is here to stay. I think dry style rosés that are complex and vibrant and utterly drinkable, I think it's a market segment that's going to explode, and I think it's going to stay. I hope I'm right. It's something that I hope will come to fruition, because I think Virginia makes incredible wine, but they do make incredible rosés. Let's see. Golly. Gosh, 7:52. So one more glass before we say goodbye. I'll miss you. It's only 6 days. To let you know, next week we are talking about the Le Vendange Viognier, the 2019. Following that is the Trevelyan White 2019, and then we're finishing up with the Trevelyan Red, which is a beautiful little Cabernet Petit Verdot blend. And then we're going to have some exciting news for you about what we do in July. What's going on? It might be a virtual barrel tasting. So stay tuned. Share, preach that Virginia makes incredible wine. Invite people to join us. Would love to reach more people and share Keswick wines and sort of share Virginia wines. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. Again, I love my t-shirt. Thank you, Chris. It's soft. I dig it. I really appreciate it, and just appreciate you. Thank you for your support, and hopefully I will see you next week. So until then, cheers to you, cheers to your family. God bless all of you, and thank you very much.